In this lesson, we'll learn to multiply fractions. Let's start with the example of 4/5 times 1/2. First, let's get a visual idea of what we have here. We'll let this bar represent one whole. The denominator of the first fraction is 5, so we'll split the bar into 5 equal rectangles. The numerator of the first fraction is 4. To represent this, we'll color 4 of the 5 rectangles green. Because the denominator of the second fraction is 2, we will divide each of the 5 rectangles into 2 equal parts. This equates to multiplying the two denominators together to get the denominator of the answer. The second fraction is 1/2. We will color exactly 1/2 of the green rectangles blue. There are 8 green rectangles, so we will color 4 of them blue. Now the blue rectangles represent the numerator of the answer. We can also calculate the numerator of the answer by multiplying the two numerators together. Now we do the two simple multiplications. We get 4 in the numerator and 10 in the denominator. In our picture, we can easily see this because we have 4 blue rectangles out of a total of 10 rectangles. Finally, we need to reduce our answer. We can see right away that 4 and 10 are both even numbers, so we can divide the numerator and denominator each by 2 to get 2/5. Since 2 and 5 have no common factors, we can't reduce any further, so 2/5 is our final answer. What does reducing the fraction 4/10 to 2/5 mean in our picture? It simply means that we are erasing the middle lines. Instead of thinking of the blue area as 4 out of 10 rectangles, we will erase the middle lines and describe the blue area as 2 of 5 rectangles. This is what it means to reduce the fraction. We haven't changed the amount of the bar that is colored blue, we have just changed the way we look at it. Let's summarize the method we just used to multiply these two fractions. First, we multiplied the denominators together to get the denominator of the answer. Second, we multiplied the numerators together to get the numerator of the answer. Third, we reduced the fraction. This is the usual way to multiply fractions. These 3 steps will work when multiplying any two fractions together. We were able to draw a nice picture in our example because the fractions we multiplied were both proper. But we can use these 3 steps to multiply improper fractions as well. I will show you an example of this shortly, but first I want to show you a trick. Now that we know the standard way to multiply fractions, here's something you can do at the very beginning of the problem to speed up your calculations. Remember that when we were simplifying our answer in the example, that we found both the numerator and the denominator of 4/10 were divisible by 2? It turns out we could have gotten rid of those 2's right at the beginning of the problem. Here's how. Let's start the example over. First we do what I call diagonal reduction. We look at the numerator of the first fraction and the denominator of the second fraction. Now we divide out any common factors of 4 and 2. 4 and 2 only have 2 as a common factor, so we cross out the 4 and replace it with 4 divided by 2, which is 2. And we cross out the 2 and replace it with 2 divided by 2, which is 1. So right at the beginning of the problem, we have eliminated those 2's that we dragged clear through the problem and canceled at the end last time. We also check the numerator of the second fraction and the denominator of the first fraction for common factors. There are none, so we move on to the multiplication. Now we multiply straight across like we did before, but we'll use our reduced fractions. For the denominator, we get 5 times 1, which is 5. For the numerator, we get 2 times 1, which is 2. So we get 2/5, the same answer as before. But I would argue that this way is simpler. I see several advantages with this method over the standard method that I showed you before. Since you are reducing the fractions before multiplying them together, you are factoring smaller numbers and multiplying smaller numbers, both of which make the problem easier. Now I will show you an example of multiplying improper fractions together. First, I'll use the standard method. Then I'll do the same problem using the faster way. Let's multiply 9/8 times 6/5. Using the standard method, we multiply the two denominators 8 and 5 together to get 40. Then we multiply the two numerators 9 and 6 together to get 54. Now we need to simplify the fraction 54 over 40. We notice immediately that both 54 and 40 are divisible by 2, so we divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2 to obtain 27 over 20. 27 factors into 3 times 3 times 3, and 20 factors into 2 times 2 times 5, so they have no common factors. So this fraction is completely reduced. So 27/20 is our final answer. Now we answer the same question using the faster way. First, we do diagonal reduction. We compare the first numerator with the second denominator. They have no common factors, so we compare the second numerator with the first denominator. We see that they are both divisible by 2, so we cross off 6 and replace it by 6 divided by 2, which is 3. We also cross off 8 and replace it with 8 divided by 2, which is 4. Now we multiply the two denominators to get 20, and we multiply the two numerators to get 27.